Private Jackson, at ease. This one comes straight from the top. Brass has intel that German field commander Wilhelm Just As Good Longdong is in Normandy. Given his reputation, it goes without saying that we have to take him out and take this opportunity. This could be our only chance to end the war before 4th of July. You see, the brass has a cookout every year, and it's the only time my wife Betsy makes her potato salad. And well, listen, you're the only man for the job. The weight of the world is on your shoulders, and I will not miss out on that potato salad again. Jackson, find him and take him out.
My Lord, who art in heaven, 9 pound 8 ounce, sweet Lord infant, grand thumb baby Jesus. May my shots be straight, sweet baby grand thumb Jesus. May I overcome my enemy. We gotta keep moving. On my strength. Sweet Lord Infant Grand Thumb Baby Jesus, haste me to help me. My shield and he in whom I trust. An infant, newborn, Grand Thumb Baby Jesus, and my hands be swift. Any last words, you're a dong?
Das PSA, just as good!
No, your PSA is not just as good.
The M1903A4, Springfield, peak 1944 vibes. Listen, Cody Curry here, and this is 110 SAS Actual. History class is now in session, so let's take a little walk back to the beginning of the Second World War. Sniping in general was just a rather neglected tactic of warfare at that time. In 1941, the US was much more preoccupied with getting volunteers, building tanks, planes, aircraft carriers, and cruisers, so on and so forth. It really wasn't until 1943 did some rogue hero king in the US Army say, hey, wouldn't it be kind of rad if we had like a weapon with an optic that could like provide precision rifle fire from a distance? I'm sure the other generals said something along the lines of, my irons are just as good, but the king succeeded. 20,000 receivers were set aside from Remington arms for the conversion to the new 1903A4. So, how did they do it? Well, it wasn't exactly some cutting-edge gunsmiths drafting designs, blueprinting actions, hand-fitting bolts, and bedding stocks. No. In fact, they really didn't do much to change it from the A3 variant that saw heavy use in the beginning of the war, especially in the Pacific theater, Guadalcanal. Extremely minor changes were made to the A4, and none of which really had any impact on accuracy nor reliability. There were a couple different stocks. There was a Type C stock and the older semi-pistol scant grip. Iron sights were removed so they would not impede on the field of view, and the bolt handle here was slightly reshaped to clear the new optic. That's really about it. Oh, and they changed the roll marks of Remington arms from the top of the receiver to the sides, so the optic mount wouldn't cover it up. So let's get into it, and let's talk about the rifle itself. Now, there weren't any real accuracy requirements in the entire program, and there wasn't really any special process in manufacturing these things. In fact, they were no more accurate than a standard A3. Now, I found this rifle generally shoots 2 MOA. This is with mid-grade 150 grain ammo that's made for the M1 Garand. It's a little lower powered so it doesn't bend the op rod. This isn't awful, in my opinion, for what it is. I was expecting much worse. Now, I would imagine with the quality of ammo that was being produced in the early 40s, troops probably seen somewhere between 2 and 4 MOA. Now,
The trigger on this rifle isn't awful. It's a very simple two-stage trigger. Brake is relatively consistent, and there's some creep and there's some over travel, but I've felt much worse two-stage triggers on modern rifles. It's approximately a 5-pound brake. I feel for such an antique, I'm overall pretty pleased. Now, moving on to the optic. Well, it's interesting. This is a reproduction clone of the original Weaver 330 marked M73 Bravo. No hash marks for holds of elevation or for wind. Some real pilgrim stuff. The original suffered terribly from not being weatherproofed nor combat ready. There were numerous accounts of broken optics and completely waterlogged optics, especially in the Pacific where it was extremely wet all the time. Moisture would get in, rain would get in, and it basically made the gun a club. A very simple exposed turret for windage and elevation mounted on the top and the left side. The mount was a Redfield, and it was no more than just a readily available hunk of metal that was available on the commercial market. Now, the optic itself, well, by today's standards, it's rather laughable. Now picture this. You're under fire, and you're looking through a straw to find your target. Okay, it's not that bad, but it's rough. It's serviceable. I'd feel comfortable taking shots within 400 yards with it. The 30-06 doesn't have considerable drop within that, so it's a relatively straightforward shot. But it's still a little rough to use. Anything past that, well, you're kind of playing a little bit of guessing. It's a very interesting mounting system. Where the original iron sight was, there's a notch here where the mount slides over and is screwed into the receiver. Nothing too strange there. But what's weird is how the scope ring mounts. There's a small spot milled out on the base, and the ring seats there. And then there's 2 set screws, one on each side, that tightens its grip on the ring. There's maybe 1/8 of an inch of metal that's clinging on for dear life. The front is even weirder. This ring gets seated into a hole milled out of the base, then twisted into place where it's taper locked in the spot, then held by 2 set screws on top here. It's some real pilgrim stuff. It's such a strange approach. So much wasted material and potential to cause point of impact issues down the road. The action itself isn't as smooth as I would like it to be. It's actually a little stiff, and when you get to the end of the bolt pull, it gets a little gritty. You can see in the video that I wasn't able to work the action. You can see in the video that I wasn't able to work the bolt flawlessly. So here's the deal. By today's standards, well, this thing is a dinosaur. A wood stock that's nearly the length of the entire barrel, held in place by metal bands and a couple set screws. There's no detachable magazine, a very awkward and stiff kind of safety, and it's kind of heavy to get down. Really got to put some effort into it, but that's what also makes this thing awesome. It has character. Who knows what this thing has seen or could have done? The stories it could tell. I think that's what makes it so rad. This is the stuff our grandpas and grandparents used to use across the world. So do you need one? The answer is a resounding yes. It doesn't have to be your main rifle, but it could be. But every single time you take it out, you'll get a thumbs up in conversations. So gentlemen, that's a wrap. I appreciate the subscribers and the shares. And special thanks to Lord Infant Baby Grand Thumb Jesus for helping Private Jackson connect all them shots.